So the prevention speech 2020 is our next point on the agenda. Margret Rasfeld will be the speaker. She actually recorded it this morning because she's a very popular speaker. She had to go to Oldenburg for another speech this afternoon. So this speech, when you see it, it's been recorded 90 minutes ago. Ms. Rasfeld is actually a teacher and a school reformer. She has big ideas how we should reform our education system, our school system, to do proper work for the future. So she has different ideas. She talks about what she's seen has positive effects, and it's very interesting to see where we can develop and how we can develop. You know, prevention speeches are not always about the main topic. In this case, it's kind of a transitional subject for the next Congress, which will be about education, among other things. Its title is Prevention Oriented. So prevention oriented education system is one of the topics for next year, and it'll be interesting to hear Ms. Rasfeld preparing us for the next Congress. So let's hear the prevention speech by Margret Rasfeld. Ladies and gentlemen, at your computers at home, hello. I want to talk about an important subject with you, education. I have called my presentation Against Burnout Society. We need to reform education. I want to talk about 4 points with you. First of all, what challenges do we need to address if we do not want to fail ourselves, the world, and the future? Number 2, what do our children need to learn to be ready for the future? Number 3, a paradigm change. And I also want to inspire you, number 4, what does it mean to rethink education and schools? We are always competing with each other, and that is not good for the future. It has brought us so many crises, climate crisis, very dramatic. The higher, faster, further ahead competition is not sustainable. The Earth system is approaching a tipping point, and the 6th mass extinction is underway as we speak. 1 million species are in danger. Every 12 minutes we are killing off one species. And every minute 11 children starve. That's 700 children in an hour. 1.3 billion tons of food are being tossed out every year. That's 18 tons an hour in Germany. The planet is on fire. We are facing 3 crises: an ecological crisis, a social crisis, a gap between rich and poor keeps growing, and a crisis concerning our sense of purpose. This life just looking for optimization and growth is not sustainable. There's an important day, Earth Overshoot Day. We are taking resources from the Earth and give back some of them, but we take more than we give back. Earth Overshoot Day is the day when we start living on tick, and we're living on things that will be produced in the future. In 1970 it was in December. In 2020 it is in July worldwide. In Germany, its Overshoot Day is in the beginning of May. If everybody would live the way we live, we would need 3 planets, but we only have 1. And we have no planet B. Now our young people are no longer keeping quiet. They're raising their voices, taking to the streets, and adults are following them. We've had our first climate demo under Corona under the Corona situation. Now the big transformation to get down from 3 S's to 1, or learn to live a sustainable life. We do not only need technology, we need new attitudes, new examples, from ego to eco, from me to we. Let me name some. We need to share instead of own. And we have to be more social rather than maximizing profits all the time. Such a huge social transformation always needs transformation of the education system. Education plays a vital part. So what attitudes do people need, especially young people who grow up in this age, to make this transformation happen? So one thing is, how do we deal with insecurities, with changes and complexity? So through Corona, we have just been thrown in at the deep end, and we are seeing how many people are experiencing anxiety and are having difficulty handling it. Then the 4 Ks: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. In English, the 4 Cs. And important is not to get depressed or fatalistic. We have to be solution-oriented, empathic. We need solidarity and courage. We need to learn to live together mindfully, and we have to work for each other, not against each other. We have to take responsibility, threefold responsibility, for ourselves, for others, and for our planet. Because these 3 major crises I named are an expression of an increasing alienation between human beings and nature, between human beings and between everybody and themselves, their own self. We have to be courageous enough to act. Lots of people lack courage. What really counts, we know this from health management, is appreciation, relationship, participation, responsibility, and meaning. People need appreciation, community, autonomy, and freedom, and tasks that help them grow. If we take a meta perspective on the school system, and we look at school from this perspective, we can see how far away school is from those values. I always talk about the system, not about an individual teacher, because they are giving it their best. Because school follows this faster, more efficient, better, stronger kind of craze, and grades are always causing competition. Nobody wants this, but that's how the system works. You always have to write tests. Kids compare themselves with each other. And if I look at the basic factors of health, participation, meaning, sorry, there was a problem. And so it's all about understanding systems. German, English, math, ethics, PE, philosophy, zap through the program. You do not learn that way. And it has nothing to do with relationship, with the individual and with individuality. Instead of participation on a teaching level, kids are just controlled by others. External control, external evaluation. Adults could not even stand it. And it has nothing to do with meaning. A lot of time is spent filling in worksheets, and that does not teach kids how to deal with insecurities and changes. So the secret curriculum is the culture, that that you do, that you live. So we need trust, we need creativity. And for us to be creative, we're not using our creative potential, which we need for the future. You know, and there's no time in the system. There's fear in the system on all levels. Children have to fulfill standards, they're standardized, they are made the objects of expectations, and grades and standards kill the potential of creativity. More and more people get sick. We have kids 9 years of age suffering burnout. Kids 9 years of age suffering burnout. The cause is their internal stress, the pressure that they have to fulfill the expectations of their environment. What do the adults say? We need more psychologists, but no, we have to think about why kids get sick. They are a warning system showing us the problems in society. They're very sensitive. Young people are always evaluated with grades, with tests, put under pressure with tests, and that promotes the grades, and the comparison promotes comparative thinking, competitive thinking, which are the attitudes we should overcome for our major transformation. So people who have experienced a system in which they always have to meet other people's expectations are often fearful. Learning needs enthusiasm. Enthusiasm means meaning, and meaning is very important. If you look at this meta perspective on the system and its values, and the focus we are giving our kids, goes to show that we need a paradigm change. No longer optimization according to the old system, leaving school the way it is with small points of optimization. No, we have to rethink the entire system. We need a paradigm change and a vision. And this change we also need in society, and our social vision already exists in the form of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. It's also called Agenda 2030 because that's the time by which we want to implement them. So the entire world community has met 5 years ago. Last Friday, it was 5 years ago, on September 25th, 2015. And the global society committed to this. And everybody said, this is where we want to go. More justice, less poverty, climate change needs to be fought, protecting nature, healing nature, and very importantly, at the center of all this, and everybody agrees on this, that's why we have a special goal for this, is education. Quality, not quantity education. Inclusive, high-value education that teaches kids values and competencies, trust, learning to change the world, that they believe in themselves. The UNESCO, the education department of the United Nations organization, in its global goals, has created a program for the secret curriculum. So 25 years ago, UNESCO has suggested to change the curriculum. Getting knowledge is as important as learning how to live together and how to act and how to be. So who am I? What gifts do I bring? Do I have? What does the world need? And how can I use my gifts to tackle the challenges of the future? Then people stay healthy. Then people, that's prevention in the most basic sense. This is a prevention congress. We need to create systems that allow people to be healthy and to keep creating their own world. rather than becoming victims of circumstances. It's completely unknown here. Germany has taken this world program and turned it into a national program called Education for Sustainable Development. 1.5 years, a lot of high-level people were working on this and nobody knows. So the competency to create the world, according to the UNESCO and the action plan, the motto is learn to change the world, learn to transform yourself and society. In the press, nobody reports about this. Digitization overshadows everything. Digitization is important. We're living in a second transformation stage of the digital world, but it's a servant of sustainability. Now, this takes me to some inspiration. One that can give us hope, I think, is there's a national action plan. We're all called to action, to have visions, to act. So education is, all the cultural ministers have signed this action plan. So let's rethink education. A lot of people find this very difficult because we are always thinking inside the box we think, well, this hasn't done me any harm. So it's difficult to think beyond that, think outside the box. So I named some examples how we can rethink education. So inspiration. There are many schools, Montessori schools have been doing it for 150 years, where students organize themselves when they learn. Mixed age groups, they help each other, and they determine when they want to take a test, when they want to conclude a subject. All the pressure, all the comparison has been taken out of the system. Instead of grades, they get appreciation and appreciative feedback. The teachers have a new role. They are helpers in the learning process, and they get enough time to help students, a group of students they know very well, and to help them learn, to coach them regularly. Some need less coaching, some need more. People are different. This is one part. Learning in a self-organized manner, acquiring knowledge in your own way, and with different materials, not marching in line with something others expect. So it's not about you have to, it's change towards I can. Students taking steps into the right direction. During Corona times, we've seen that schools that are already doing this have no problem with distance learning. Important is also learning from life. How do I learn to be a responsible person? When you determine your own goals in your learning process and I help others, that's a step towards that, but it's also about society. So there's a subject at school, in exclamation marks. 21 years ago, my school, and I was a school principal for a long time. I was in Essen, and I built up an unusual school there before I changed locations. So students invented the subject of responsibility. Let's get out into the community. 2 hours every week, students go out into society and look for a responsible task, reading things out, doing scientific experiments, and kindergartens doing something creative with kids, taking care of senior citizens, or showing them how to use a computer, taking care of refugees, finding ecological tasks. It's a very broad spectrum, and children experience, I'm important, I count, people are happy when I get there to see them. And that makes kids feel happy and empowered. That's one area that I think has been incorporated into about 400 school curriculums. Responsibility and confidence, believing in children. A really great subject is challenges in life. Learn from life and learn how to handle insecurities. A challenge is that young people are given time, in some schools 3 weeks. In my school in Berlin, 3 times 3 weeks when they're 13, 14 and 15 respectively, and they go out into the world and have to survive with 150 euros. That's 5 euros a day for to cover everything, you know, going somewhere by train or something. That's all included. A popular challenge is moving on the water, walking, hiking, cycling, but also going to an organic farm or to a monastery. Anything goes. I'll show you some pictures. What's important, especially to make friends with nature again, establish a relationship with nature, they're always outside. And they have to make do without daily comforts. There's no fridge you can just open up, and you don't have a warm shower, you don't have a toilet. So you just wash your hair in the river. I learned like if you use soap, then your hair really stands on it. And they do things that their parents wouldn't let them do, maybe. And then they reach their goal and very proud. And they have developed so much in a way that would not be possible at their desk at school. So imagine, you know, as an adolescent, when you're 13, 14, 15, you're in a group, you can't run away when things get tough, you learn team spirit, and you also learn that life does not go according to plan. You know, obviously you plan the challenge, where do we go? But, you know, something happens and the plan is gone. So then they make a new plan and they see, oh, we have a lot of potential and together we can do this. Making friends with strangers and with things you do not know. It's a very important skill, important attitude, appreciating diversity, not being afraid of people who are different, of things that are different. You learn that too, because with 5 euros you cannot pay for a youth hostel or to camp somewhere. You know, you have to knock on people's doors and ask them if you can sleep in their garden or whatever. And the greatest conversations happen. People say, what? You're doing that in your school? I want to go to a school like that. And facing the first challenge, after the first challenge, kids come back and say, wow, I would have never thought how friendly people are. Just for that, it's worth it. And you learn how to deal with insecurity. You never know where you're going to sleep that night. You learn entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to take risks. And you learn how to deal with failure. You know, at school, we don't like to see kids fail. But with these challenges, it's they learn how to deal with failure. So if you're terrified and think, what, 13-year-olds all by themselves? Let me tell you, there's always somebody with them who's 18 or older. So schools have about 50 cooperations with universities for that purpose. Sorry, we're experiencing a technical problem. So students learn how a team works and how to find solutions when you experience problems. That's what a challenge is. A very important module. If you ask yourself, how do we learn how to deal with insecurities? How do we strengthen the personality of young people? How do we teach them resilience? Then you can't just sit at your desk all day and fill in worksheets. You have to create formats like this, and you can come up with other ideas. A third inspiration is Friday, free day. On our free day, so the meaning of school today, according to UNESCO and according to our national action plan, is learning how to change the world. So you need freedom for that. The national action plan says in all education settings, so what we've made of this is Friday, 1 day a week with at least 4 hours, live poses the questions, and the kids with their questions face the issues that they want to tackle, and they acquire knowledge. There's different ways, and it's supported by a website with material, and then they think about how they can act and how they can find solutions at school and also in their community. They directly put projects into practice, so it makes them competent for the future, and it makes them creators of the world. They're no longer victims of the circumstances, they create the future. Let me name some examples. They can talk about plastic. Lots of people are interested in this. They are energy advisors. They establish a climate council at their school or in their city. They make their school climate neutral or take steps towards that. They plant trees. In Germany, we have around 11 million students. So if each one of them would plant 10 trees, a small one costs €1, that would be 110 million trees. School is the biggest enterprise of the nation. It can be very powerful. We're not tapping into it. We're just locking kids up, closing the doors and asking them to learn something. So let's show everybody how much power students have. Plan for the Planet is an initiative. Kids in the world have already planted 13 billion trees. Friday is also important for younger kids, enabling them to get out into the field, into nature, and reconnecting with nature's treasure. Being out in nature has a very positive effects on health. It makes kids happier and healthier. Nobody talks about this. It's a very important subject. Also, compost is an important issue. If we used more arable land and built it up again with compost, even in the desert, we can actually make thriving landscapes. So with that, we could compensate for the CO2 emissions around the globe. They can also help other kids in socially difficult regions. They can make sure that every child in their city gets a healthy breakfast. There's lots of opportunities. Kids have great ideas. It all exists already, but not very much. So the Friday is meant for everybody. It's meant to be a self-empowering day. FREW minus day.org. That's the website. It has great potential to transform the system. You know, you cannot plan this day. The teachers have to let students ask the questions. So even after Corona, young people can get together and work on the topic that they're passionate about in a team. And the expertise we need, it's there. It's the NGOs, the organic farmer, the businesses with their agile methodologies, artists, etc. They don't go into normal schools, you know, but tell an artist they can come on Mondays from 10 to 10:45 to get creative. It's not so easy, but if you have 4 hours every Friday, you have some more time to build up your education landscape. And parents also get a chance to give input into this Friday. It's about knowledge, about wanting knowledge, and about putting it into practice. And one last point is hope, the sleeping giant. In society, we have a knowledge deficit and an even greater deficit in the way we act. But the biggest deficit is hope. 75% of people in Germany are pessimistic about the future. 50% of young people, of students, like sustainability, but are disillusioned. Same with teachers. If you no longer believe that something's going to happen, you won't change your behavior. But we have to try out new ways of behaving, and we have to develop passion and joy about changing the world and acting different. So the study is called Hope, the sleeping giant. So the giant is sleeping, and once we wake up this giant, so if we make our biggest deficit our biggest power, then there's nothing we cannot do. How do you attain hope? Good news, for example. There's lots of great things that the media never tell us about. They always give us bad news. Through examples, people living, walking the talk, and empowerment. I'm a change maker. I can change the world. Wow. And together with others, we can make a change. So in this way, I think the Friday is a great module, a great learning module. Every school could introduce by next year or next semester. If you cannot find the 4 hours to do that, you should close your school. So through this Friday, schools become workshops. They become places of action for responsible action and responsible visions. And everybody loves going to places like that. We should also actually get rid of the word school. Educational landscape. I've been working at schools 39 years and 9 years as a principal. I've built up 2 very different schools, one public one, one private one. In 2012, I established the initiative Schools on the Move to support a bottom-up movement that comes, that's a grassroots movement, but it should trickle up all the way to the top. Schools should network and learn from each other. A great transformation requires cultural change in our attitude towards human beings with empowerment, resilience, and a tolerance towards ambiguity that can be responsible. Only people like that can handle complexity and change. And if you have experienced respect and appreciation, you can also give it in relationships. If you have experienced that giving your best in a team is better than wanting to be better than others or having to be better than others. So you will not make other people objects of your expectations. If we want this new culture in 2030 in schools and civil society everywhere, we have to act now. And to change school, some people say schools change slower than churches. No, we have to input our ideas. And if you're working on changing schools, you have to network with other people doing the same, because this longing for a new school system is huge, but we're lacking images and ideas. So let me end with a quote by Viktor Frankl. The biggest medicine for the soul is trust. Trusting others, but also trust in yourself. And for that, we don't need so much program, mobbing, prevention, etc. What we need is a new humanity. Have the courage for this new humanity. Have the courage to be insecure, to fail. Until 2030, we have 3,380 days. So, you know, leaning back and thinking, oh, it'll be fine, we can do this, we have time. No, now. Thank you. That was our prevention speech for 2020 by Margret Rasfeld. Thank you so much, Ms. Rasfeld. I think we'll go back to the speech and look at it again and again. If you've seen it live and you experienced some problems with the internet, like everything else, we will document this, and I can tell you the first two webinars have already gone live online if you're in a hurry, but step by step, everything you've seen live is also going to be documented. So we heard a quote by Viktor Frankl, a psychotherapist who survived a concentration camp and has a very positive image of humanity in all his activities and publications. Logotherapy was also created by him, and I think we can learn a lot from him about the power we have as human beings and what we can make of them. Very interesting transition from the 25th Congress to the 26th, when we will talk about prevention-oriented and about the development of our education system, among other things. Now we'll get to the reports that were the foundation of this focus this year. There are 68 videos. We will show you now, but don't worry, it won't take hours. We've created a 3-minute video. After that, you will see the Kassel Declaration 2020 of the Congress for Crime Prevention. You can read it and you can listen to it, and it is based upon these expert reports. We have automatically done it in this way, that it could be edited and that they could be edited and that they could be incorporated into the Kassel Declaration. After that, I'll see you again. Digitization has changed lots of areas of our lives massively. In the digital age, it's one of the turning points humanity has seen so far. The timing of the world, the pace has changed, especially in communication, but digitization is not the revolution people make it out to be. Digitization has offers a lot of opportunities for action. See more than 300,000 new malware programs. It's important to take preventive measures. Hate speech on the internet, the amount of hate comments creates major challenges for police and prosecution authorities. All new technical possibilities also bear the danger of endangering basic rights. Communication is problematic if it's only for certain individuals or regions. Digitization means for crime prevention great opportunities. You have to look at apps, the internet, online services for prevention work. Valuable technology is technology that makes things more accessible. Counseling, for example. Criminals are also using digitization, but prevention will also use digitization. That will be the result of digitization overall. The future, it takes more education, more awareness of what malware technology is. What I would like to see for this vision is that we are doing participation-based prevention methods, bringing different people together to ask for harder punishment or legalization or legislation does not make sense. More money for prevention would make sense. Cyber hygiene, cyber security is as important as locking my house when I leave. So you cannot solve every problem with technology. That's just going to create more problems for society. Kasseler Declaration of the 25th German Congress on Crime Prevention in the Digital World, Smart Prevention. Under the title, Crime Prevention in the Digital World, Smart Prevention, the German Congress on Crime Prevention wants to address the following significant challenges faced by society, business and governments. Almost all areas of life are reflected in the technical media and in digital space. Many of them now take place completely in the digital world. In this context, we are increasingly seeing deviant behavior, crime and violence. At the same time, crime prevention bodies are also using the tools and maneuvering the space of the World Wide Web. For the 25th German Congress on Crime Prevention, 17 experts have recorded concise statements on the subject in advance. Their extensive expertise is the foundation of the Kasseler Declaration below. The phenomenon of digitization is a major challenge in crime prevention work. Due to the enormous technological changes we are seeing, the potential scope and reach of human behavior has expanded dramatically. This is due to the expansion of communication pathways and networking opportunities, the dissolution of boundaries previously dictated by time and space, and increased capacities for data collection, storage, and evaluation. The internet is a global space of interaction and communication that works beyond physical limitations and partly outside the scope of established rules. This opens up new potential for abuse and criminal usage. A new social hierarchy emerges because not everybody has access to technology, virtual worlds, and competence in dealing with both. Especially for children and young adults, the impact is huge because childhood is no longer a protected space, and young adults' tendency to experiment bears greater risks in this new environment. The challenges in the areas of crime and violence prevention are complex. In digital communication, people's inhibition threshold goes down. Hate speech, sexual abuse, conspiracy myths, threats, and mobbing have reached new levels of intensity and quantity, and sometimes manage to pose as normal. The data that are accessible at all times are always in danger of being one-sided and manipulated, especially when accessed by incompetent users. Anonymous use of the internet has facilitated access to illegal goods and services. Digital infrastructures are vulnerable to cyber attacks, hacking, and extortion. Political discourse has become more populist, uncompromising, and aggressive. Extremist views are being disseminated unfiltered. Absolute faith in surveillance and monitoring technology takes away important funds from social prevention measures. Smart technology in the area of crime prevention is always in danger of oversimplifying things, generating innocent suspects, and discriminating against groups of people. Uncontrolled data accumulation endangers privacy rights and data protection. The opportunities of digitization can also be found in the same new communication structures. Basically, more people can be reached quicker. Specific target groups can be addressed more easily with customized prevention-oriented content. Gamification and apps are opening up new pathways and access points. Compared to the tendencies of rudeness and aggression we are observing, prevention campaigns are at the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to using cyberspace. Organizations working in crime prevention can network at greater speed and quality at a national and international and global level. Also, digital communication tools offer great potential for promoting integration, participation, and early access to participating in democratic activities. In the area of security technology, digitization offers further options and innovations. Potentially harmful activities and programs are counteracted by better security tools. Intelligent video surveillance and the use of big data can be used for crime prevention if they are controlled and regulated accordingly. Virtual reality applications could also be useful for a prevention-oriented exchange of experiences. These observations show how important it is to create the right conditions and frameworks for technological development to strengthen the positive potential of digitization, whilst counteracting its challenges effectively. Smart prevention thus becomes an essential component of preventing crime and violence. Smart prevention as a vision means strategic action based on the root causes and development conditions of crime and violence, and guided by sound knowledge of the side effects of preventive approaches. It is geared towards social welfare and counteracts development of social injustice and the totalitarianism that leads to violence and crime. The German Congress on Crime Prevention calls upon politicians and media, as well as civil actors and groups at community, state, or federal level, to take responsibility and actively shape smart prevention. 1. The networking potential of digital media should be used for integration and participation. A nationwide digital network, including all those working on crime prevention, deserves our support. 2. We need to develop smart solutions based on big data in the area of prevention-oriented education and social programs. 3. Digital methods should be used to approach target groups more easily with custom-tailored prevention-oriented content and reach them directly. A useful framework for a safe approach to digitization. 1. To operate the increasingly complex digital infrastructures in a trustworthy, safe, and reliable manner, we need a strategically sound framework of regulations. In the individual area, education and legislation should create incentives for cyber hygiene, so people keep themselves safe by using appropriate software. 2. Concerning the use of digital technologies, we need to develop clear guidelines and make sure that these are handled in a transparent, democratically verifiable and controllable manner. The influence and power of major technology companies and platforms should be limited. Risks must be made transparent. We need to be cautious with our use of data and digital technology only used where it is necessary. 3. Applicable law must also be made visible in digital space, and its effective enforcement must be promoted. Media education should be promoted in school, outside of school, and across generations. 1. The digital media are now a new socialization environment. To promote media competency, structures must be created financially and conceptually to make up for injustice and equality. Media education must be rooted in school education and in education taking place outside of schools. 2. At school, classroom teaching must follow current developments in technology, and teachers must receive appropriate training. Social work at school, also in the digital space, should permanently be part of school's work. 3. The ability to not only find information but also evaluate it should be developed in appropriate age groups. Parents should be supported in their efforts to help their children use media competently and safely. For the safe handling of data and the promotion of data protection, trainings must be organized. Develop international networks. 1. In the areas of danger prevention and criminal law enforcement, we should strive for international networking and cooperation. 2. When developing smart prevention approaches, the expertise of European and international human rights bodies should be used, as it can give important input concerning the risks and opportunities of digitization. The live reporting from the TV studio of the Offener Kanal Kassel at DPT-TV is about to end. What's not about to end yet is the 25th Congress on Crime Prevention, and we are sticking with our plans. We have continued this Congress all night. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock it will be all over, and the first German online Congress on crime prevention, that is overall the 25th Congress, will be over. So we've been asked again and again if I haven't had time, can I see it later? Yes, we're documenting everything, and you will be able to access the content of this Congress on YouTube, on the site of the German Crime Prevention Congress. Also, Offener Kanal Kassel is an access point. It's up to you where you get your information, but it will be available. So the situation now is basically that I want to say thank you to all colleagues you haven't been able to see working behind the scenes here. The Offener Kanal Kassel team and the Congress teams from Hanover, Frankfurt, from the train where one colleague is on his way home, and I think on Skype. So all my colleagues who are here, please come on stage so our viewers can see who has contributed to this. Rolf Krümmer, Dr. Malte Strattmeier, Dr. Claudia Heinzelmann, Margot Molkenbuhr, Tana Franke, Sven Kuppig, Sibylle Roth, and Armin, where is he? Ruder. There he is. This is the team that's been working on this Congress, and we've actually managed to get everybody on stage because now nobody has to push any buttons. Matthias just took a picture of us, so he's going to join us too. And now this is all of us. Thank you to everybody for being here with us and actively participating in this Congress. I hope you've learned a lot. What I realized looking at all these debates and contributions, and we've seen prevention is an attitude, and we have to start early. Prevention is not a fire extinguisher. Once the fire is there, it becomes difficult. So it's fire prevention. So you are invited to look at the summary of our slams in a few minutes, and you will get information on the next Congress in Cologne. On this note, goodbye.